Good rising, family. Good rising. Black Feniks checking in right now at headquarters. And I wanted to talk to you about pipe welders versus structural welders. Which one should you choose? So I was going over some numbers and a few things on how I feel about it. Now, I am a combo welder. I have my AWS certs in pipe welding 6G with a 6010 and a 7018. And I also have my flux core and stick. So the biggest benefit, I'm going to talk about the pipe welding first, is the pay. The pay is a bigger difference. It's pretty much when I did the numbers, and this is average because you do have numbers that can get higher in certain fields. But on average, you're going to make about I'm looking at $20,000 to $25,000 difference than a structural welder. So if a structural welder, an average one makes about $44,000 to $40,000 a year, then the pipe welder, the average one makes around $65,000 to $75,000 a year. You see what I'm saying? So the numbers can fluctuate. But being a pipe welder, one big difference is I want to tell you, it requires more to get started and to get into versus structural welding and the money you can make get into that. So you might make a $20,000, $30,000 difference, but it's going to take more to get involved in the pipeline. So if you're a pipeline welder, you're going to have to make sure you get you a good rig. On and off road, 4-wheel drive is a must. A diesel is a must because most of the time you keep them running. The welding machine you have to buy, on an average, if you get a good one, you're going to range from around, I say for one of those, you're looking at $75,000 to $11,000. Depends on the brand, getting a Lincoln or used one or a new one, you know what I mean? Now that's pipelining. Now, versus you getting, jumping into the structural field. With it, you can make that money without having that rig. So, okay, you don't have to invest in the truck or the big welder getting started, or stands and the bevel equipment and the things that you would need to kick off your pipe welding. And sometimes you got to have some good credit because normally if you're going to get this type of rig, majority of the ones that get those rigs out there do not own them. They buying them, at least they renting them or leasing them, one or two, you know what I'm saying, or buying them. So, sometimes you will see randomly that some people will have the title, they will own them, but it's not a very popular thing that everybody owns them. Most people go and be paying notes on them, and it's not an issue to pay notes on them because they're making good money. You know what I mean? Now, you think that $25,000, $30,000 difference on being a structural welder, which you can actually do in the field or the shop. So you got two different options. But in this, all you need is some PPE, your boots, your hood, some leathers, your proper PPE, you know what I mean? The things you need to actually structure weld, and your certs, you know what I mean? You need that in your pipe welding too, you know what I mean? But I just want to make sure I say that so that way it won't be said that I didn't say it, but you're going to need your certs in both fields. But you don't have to have the equipment you need to make 40 plus, 40 to 50,000, so to speak, being a good structural welder / fabricator. So if you're a structural welder / fabricator, hey, then you really get it. But if you're just a structural welder only, then, you're looking at, like I say, early 40s, late 40s, 47, 48,000. But that photo I put up, it was the Walton Arts Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I was honored to weld on that. as a structural welder, even though I had pipe welding search too, but I was welding structural. I had to weld two of the big beams back together that do a stick off. Or actually, I did one, and this other gentleman did the other one. And we had to get tested. They brought a guy out there who tested the beams, made everything was good, but we had to put them back together because they were so long. So if you Google the Walton Art Center and you see the way it overhangs, it's two massive beams that push that out to give it that overhang. Then that big massive staircase you see, we installed that, and that was a structural. Well, very, very fun job. It was an honor to be on it because I literally had to pass a welding test on the job. Well, I took the welding test, but he had to come out there to make sure it was sound. So it passed the exam on the job on the job site. We was able to establish it. It was great. So building would live to be remembered. So me knowing that I am part of the reason it exists, it's just something for me to tell my son and my daughters later. You're like, hey, I'm the reason that overhang is there in that big staircase, because that staircase I got welded in by me too. So, it was just cool, something that I was able to do being a structural welder. Didn't have no equipment, but I was making good money. And actually, to be honest with you, at that particular time when I did that, I was only making $18 as a structural welder in Arkansas. I think it was right after I performed over there is when when we made our conversion to our next job, which was in Bentonville, is when I started making $20 an hour. So I got started there, and it was like a test and trial. And then they gave me $2. And then I ended up moving on to a different job site. But $20 an hour was the most I made in Arkansas as a structural welder. Now, the most I made as a structural welder is $30 an hour when it was all said and done. And that was in Phoenix, Arizona. And that was doing installing, and some fabrication too, but just doing structural stuff, structural ornamental, So that's the most I made doing structural outside of using my own rig. Now, using my own rig, being an independent structural welder is different because you don't have to have the same truck. You can have a 1500 truck, a 25. It just depends on the size of welder that you use. You can have a generator welder. You can have just a welder that plugs into different commercial places if you do commercial stuff all the time, or industrial where you can plug in and TIG or plug in and MIG or stick, whatever, to fix a repair. So it all depends on what type of setup, but you can get into it a lot cheaper. But being independent in that, I was making an average of around $65 to $75 an hour once I got things tuned in. And then if I had to provide more of the consumables, it went to 100. And that was with just now, check this out, I was getting 100 just with me and my truck. That's not with a helper. So when I had a helper, I charged more. Normally it was like 125 or 150. You know what I mean? It depends on what we was doing. You know what I mean? So just by myself, though, I was able to make, as an independent structural welder, 65 on a maintain average, and I get 100. Depends on if I had to use my whole setup, the torch, the welder, the fabric. I had to go do everything. It just depends on, and provide the gas. Some places I work deals with that said, hey, we put all the gas in your welder and buy all the rods or all the stuff you need if you give us this price. So sometimes I negotiate a $50 an hour price or 65. You know what I mean? Depends on what they, what's all involved. But this is being a structural welder, not a pipe welder. But as far as working, punching a clock, just working on a regular structural welding job, I think the most I got on it before, I think it was like, and this is a shop job. The most I got in a shop job, I believe, was 24, I believe. I believe I was making 24 at that one shop doing some fabrication, some structural fabrication with flux core. Not 25. Take that back. That's what it was. I remember I was making 25 doing, we was fabricating and doing structural, like we was fabricating pieces and structural welding. And that was 25. And that was with no equipment. That was me using their equipment. You know what I mean? So that's the difference. Is one is you have to get more money. It takes more money to really kick it up, but you make more. And on the other end, you can actually step in with just having proper PPE, your hood, leather, gloves, boots, you know what I mean? The things you need, you know, you can have realistically. And this is including your search to get the average pay. Say you step in with having, say if your search costs no more than 200 and your PPE with your hood costs no more than 100 and your boots about 100 and you say you got $500 invested into making 47,000 a year at $500 invested and you working a job, so to speak, or you having to have the dually, the big truck, the big welder, the big Lincoln welder, the other equipment that goes with it. You see what I'm saying? So you got a bigger investment. So, you know, you invest more, you make more. Get it? So when you're just coming in with using your skills, you can get ahead. And see, the goal is now is not to think work ethics only. We want to use that earned income to make passive income, to make, to invest in stock, to invest in products and services, to have our own businesses. So you can actually use that structural income to take you further if you think wise. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to come to you this morning in a little bit and talk to you about that because someone asked me about it. And to me, it's to each his own. If your credit is right and you got the passion, you can jump into that field, or you can jump into the structural. Me personally, I have done both. I have worked the truck in the field, you know what I mean, as a pipe welder. I have did the structural welding. And when it was all said and done, to me, I had more success and more peace of mind as a structural fabricator welder. You know what I mean? Because it was less hurdles I had to jump through. It was less judgment. You know what I mean? Just honestly. So, and I could be able to make more independent money. Sorry about that. I'm up early, so I'm not fully, my voice not fully activated yet. But I was able to make more money and make more money being a fabricator, structural, ornamental, you know, than just focusing on pipe alone, because it was more insurances, more guidelines, more loopholes, more things I had to go through, me personally, after being able to do both. So, you know, I'm a combo welder by trade, but I love the structural side and I can do the pipe side. I can do both. But like I say, I have gotten less headaches and just, you know, on the structural installing or fabrication side. So that's what I enjoy, building products now. So I like the fact that one thing for sure that I have noticed that a lot of pipe welders can't fabricate. You know what I mean? Like I have noticed some that I have knocked out. They can do certain things, but when it comes to like a real fabrication, I done seen some of them be amazed. Like, man, that's neat, because you know they can weld good when it comes to the pipe, and the pipe, you know, it can get repetitious, but that's just going in the circle all the time. You know, it's repetitive. But fabrication is something different, where you have to think outside the box. You putting pieces together, you forming something, you creating something. So to me personally, you know, I like that. But choose which one you feel is good for you. I got a chance to try both. So if you get the opportunity, you can try both. You can even try both not having your own rig, working for a company, using their rig, going out, doing pipe welding. When you do that, you don't make as much than having your own, but you still get a chance to taste or get the feel if that's something that you want to do or not. You know what I mean? So the photo I put up, like I say, that's the Walton Art Center. So if you get a chance, Google the Walton Art Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So part of that new construction, because they had an old construction and they reconstructed it. And I want to say this was around 2015, I think. 2015 or 14 when that started. I can't remember the year right now, but it was up in there. But if you Google it, it'll tell you when the new construction was up and live. But I was a part of that. And like I say, that'll be something that will always live to be remembered. And it's an art center. So to be a welder, a artist, you know, a black welder, you know, it was cool to actually put my hands on it, because literally I was the only black welder on the job. And that's another thing, being a black native or an African American, whatever you want to call yourself. I have always, majority of the time, no lie, been the only black welder on the job. So I always had more tension or more people watching me or wondering. Then once they see my work ethic, then normally it'll ease off. But then sometimes it don't, you know, but that's the I guess the disadvantages and advantages of being a black welder, because sometimes we are the only ones in certain areas. And then we got certain areas where it's more of us doing certain things, but on an average, doing what we do, it's not a lot. So that's what I want to change the the narrative. You know, it's pretty much 5 to 8% of us Black Americans that's actually welders using our hands. And I think we don't really understand the full advantage of picking one of them, of the pipe welding side or the structural side, that can really change our life when it comes to finances, when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to making products, to investing money, because you can start investing something small to create your own retirement, where you're not worried about them setting something up for you. You're doing it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's wise. So, you know, there's plenty benefits. There's many financial benefits to becoming a welder, to becoming a fabricator. Because to me, once you become the fabricator side, that's when the doors open more for you when it comes to the products, you know what I mean? And things you can provide independently. Because the goal to me is to learn the trade, to be able to master it, to do things for yourself. You know, I was listening to a video this morning before I let you go that was talking about one of the biggest myths of working. And that is to think that you can, you know, most people say, I want to work for a job. They think it's cool to say, oh, I want to work 30 years and get a pension. But that's 30 years you gave of your life that you might not get it, or it might not work out. You know what I mean? And sometimes we think like that, you know, because that's the way the system created it for us to think a lifetime job. But it would take a small piece of that money that you make and start investing in some of the things that you know you have to have on a daily basis. That's good stock investments. And things that's coming out that you feel that's going to go somewhere, not get rich quick things, but things that show progress over time. And I think that there's no reason why we can't be millionaires and set our kids up to be millionaires by time they retire or before they retire. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to depend on the system. So the goal is as we know better, to do better. You know what I mean? So invest in some products as you work, as you grind and you pick whichever field. Invest in some stock, invest in something, real estate. You know, keep your eyes open. Don't just put all of your wealth in one basket, meaning in a job, working as a pipe welder or as a structural welder. Take some of that money and build your own dreams. Invest in some things that can help you maintain during a storm. If a drought comes through, like the pandemic and this virus, if something happened and you can't work, you're still able to maintain because you made some investments, and you're able to still maintain your cost of living, even though you might not be doing that particular trade. So I just think that is wise, just sharing my own personal opinion. Just want to salute everybody that checked in with me this morning and just say, hey, it's your choice on which one you want to choose. I would just say choose wisely. Time is of the essence. You still can win on either one. If you're a hustler, you can turn something into nothing. You know what I mean? You can turn nothing into something any day. So I believe in just utilizing your gift. If you're passionate about one thing, go to that passion, follow your heart. That's the goal. So I'm going to be out this morning, man. Y'all be blessed. Hopefully everything turn out good for y'all this rising. Hold on.